Dominaria United has definitely given the player base a lot to work with formats like Modern and EDH getting a lot of cards that are going to help them construct better and more competitive decks. This is giving us a lot of cards to keep our eye on today as we take a look at cards to watch. Hi everyone and welcome back. MTG Moxman here, and thanks a lot for hanging out with me on the channel today. I've got to be honest, the more I'm looking at the cards from Dominaria United, the more excited I'm getting. I can't help myself. I'm looking at how these cards are going to interact with cards I already enjoy or cards I've always wanted to build with. And there are so many options available to me with the way that Wizards has constructed Dominaria United. I'm getting more into EDH. I'm looking at how I can build some fun decks, maybe not competitive, but fun builds. And I look at the cards available in Merfolk, in Wizards, Soldiers. You take a look at the Dragons they've offered us. They are giving us amazing cards. I've always also wanted to build with a Phyrexians, but I'm looking to see if there's more things that will stack with Phyrexians and make more effects happen. But it looks like we're going to be getting that in the next little while. It's going to be in a very interesting time in the next 6 months to see how the Brothers War unfolds and what artifacts they give us. This is giving me a lot of cards to watch, a lot of cards I think players need to pay attention to in case they're cards they want to pick up on and use later on. Now this video, it's going to be a little bit longer. I apologize for the length. I got a lot to say on this stuff and I want to have a good time with it. So watch as far as you can. Hopefully you enjoy the video and don't forget to drop those comments down into the bottom section. If you think I'm missing something, if you think I've overlooked a good card or good ability, a good mechanic, don't be afraid to put that in the comments section and set the Mox man right when he makes a mistake, because I make them all the time. Trust me, ask anyone in my family. All right, guys, let's get down to some great cards today. Let's enjoy ourselves. Really, Dominaria United, I think no matter how we look at it, the price point, the new pricing structure, they've knocked it out of the park in a lot of areas, and there's a lot of cards here that are going to see play in a lot of different decks. Let's get down to it. Now, the first card I want to mention today is Torsten, founder of Benalia. Guys, you look at this and I see a giant 7/7 for 7. That's a heavy mana cost, but let's take a closer look. When you see a legendary creature like this, look at the after effects. Okay, he is a human soldier. We're seeing a lot of soldiers brought back in Dominaria United. How does that connect with cards that already exist? Well, if we're going back to the reserve list, we can talk about Kil'jaeden Outpost. We can go back to the original cards that make soldiers. When you're building a commander deck and you're using cards like this in it, finding those older connecting cards can be a brutal side effect to what you're doing, and it can mess people up because they're not expecting it. Newer cards like Esper Sentinel, those are also soldiers. Keep that in mind. Not to mention when he comes into play, you get to look at the 7 cards, top 7 cards of your library, and any number of creature and or land cards can go right into your hand, and then you put the rest on the bottom. But if you're doing an anti-spell deck other than creatures, a commander deck that focuses on this, it's kind of amazing. And if he dies, you get 7/1/1 soldier tokens. Like, if you're building with soldiers, this is definitely a card you're going to want to have inside your deck, and it's an amazing card when you look at how it will connect with other older cards. Now, Vesuvian Diplomacy. This one here I think is going to see a lot of play, because it says whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, create a token that's a copy of that artifact or creature, except it isn't legendary. This card will find homes in all kinds of control decks inside of EDH, as well as standard play coming up. And don't forget, it says artifacts, which means it's going to link probably either to Kamigawa stuff, but also into the Brothers War. Remember, it's a standard format. A card like this is going to see a lot of play. It may not be the most expensive card, but then if you're going to be buying this card, you're going to be building around it and using it. It will find homes in EDH though. It's going to be finding home in a modern deck probably. It may not be quite quick enough, but as a fun format card, you're going to see a lot of play with a card like Vesuvian Diplomacy. And I love the reference back to the Vesuvian Doppelganger back in the day. The good old Doppelganger was like a staple for a lot of us, along with Clone, when you were building all kinds of these amazing decks. So way to go. I think it's a great card to have around. I think a lot of players are going to use it. Now, the Valiant Veteran. This is a card that should not be overlooked, okay? I know it's only a rare. It's a 2/2 for 2. Other soldiers you control get +1/+1. So again, if we link this card back up to Torsten, and you see all those 1/1s are now 2/2s, right? And then you can exile the Valiant Veteran from your graveyard to put another +1/+1 counter on every soldier you control. They are building Tribal Soldier, and this means it will link to all kinds of reserve list cards as well, guys. If you watched my video yesterday about reserve list cards to watch, there's a reason why all these cards are connecting. Somebody at Wizards R&D had a blast doing this, and most people didn't even pick up on it. I don't see anyone talking about it but me. Okay, so yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in and catching all this crazy, amazing stuff. Guys, it's going to be a great time. Don't forget, cards like this are going to link with older cards like Braids, I think is from, or Barrett or whatever, that veteran guy from Dominaria 20 is an all-white hero guy, legendary. You know what? I'm going to pop him up on the screen here. You'll see him. And look how amazing that card is and how it'll blend with other soldier tokens. Kajoran Outpost, which makes white soldiers. Great stuff that you really should not be missing out. Aegis of the Gods, maybe give yourself hexproof. You can do some crazy stuff with this. I think it's going to be just a blast to have around. And it's going to be a cheap card, by the way. Building a commander deck with this will not be expensive. Now, King Darian the whatever. That is an insane Roman numeral I'm not even going to get into. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. This will mix with green, okay? This will mix with other colors. But when you build with green, there are lots of soldiers inside green as well. There are elves that are green. Was it Johnny's Comrades, I think they are. They're all green as well. And when you sacrifice him, tokens you control gain hexproof and indestructible. He can save his own troops. You could do a board wipe, a planned board wipe, and you'll keep all your creatures. This, when timed in with certain cards, will make a very effective commander deck, in my opinion, that will have a lot of fun going on it. And putting a +1/+1 counter on King Darian and creating a 1/1 white soldier token, these cards are going to have play. Somebody is really having some fun with this, and I love it. Okay, this is a little bit different, and that's because we're seeing more clerics. Okay, I did this again. When you look back at the video I did yesterday, look at some of the reserve list clerics out there, Aurum and stuff like that. These cards all connect together. This guy's got Death Touch. He's a 2 casting cost, but whenever another creature enters a battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. There are ways of making that happen pretty simply. Whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life. There are so many ways of making tokens and branching this card out that the accumulative effect of having these creatures wiped out means you are going to end people's lives, not just in standard, not just in a modern format, but also in things like Pioneer as well as Commander. This card is going to be just bought all over the place. I know it's only an uncommon. It's not a very expensive card, but it's going to see a lot of play, and people need to pay attention to that. Be aware of it and get your play set, use it. This price will rise on the card. Our next card, Plaza of Heroes. This card should not be underestimated. The fact that it gives add 1 mana of any color, pardon me, among the legendary permanents you control. Think about all the permanents you're going to have out there. Think about the colors it's going to add. This is going to be a good card. Okay, now it also adds 1 mana of any color to spend on legendary spells, which means you're talking legendary creatures, saga cards, artifacts. This is kind of crazy, okay? This card is going to see play. It's going to be expensive. I already know people speccing on this card. I've already seen the rise of this card going up in price. I think Wizards planned this one very well. Not to mention you can exile it and a target legendary creature gains hexproof and indestructible. Again, when you link this with like Darius and other cards, wow. All I can say is this is going to be a great time to be in Magic. Wizards outdid themselves. Now, the Leaf Crowned Visionary. Again, other elves you control get +1/+1. This can link with soldiers. This can link with elves. You can do a blended deck. This is going to be crazy. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you may pay 1 green. You draw a card. Any elf tribal deck, EDH or otherwise, is going to have this card in it. It's going to be an auto include. And the fact it only costs 2 to get out means it's going to see play instantly. Way to go, Wizards. People are looking for cards like this. They want to see more of playability. It's going to be a great card. It's going to be great. Okay. Wizards is forcing cards like this upon us, and I love it because I like dragons. I like the idea of the Mythical Dragon. Now, this is a 1 black, 1 red, 1 other Vishino, but add 2 mana of any combination of colors. Spend this to cast dragon creature spells, which means you're going to be able to blend out a 5-color Tiamat dragon, giant beastie decks, but you can get the color combinations you need because of these cards being added in. Add Zeranon of the Clawed, Hivas of the Scale from the reserve list, and you're starting to get really crazy combinations of dragons available to you, and I love it. Whenever you cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard, look at that. When this creature dies, exile it. Being able to cast spells from your graveyard, even if an opponent kills it off, I can recast it. Just crazy. This card is going to see a lot of play. Okay, we all know that there are people out there who love to build crazy merfolk decks. Not just merfolks, also druids, why not? Land creatures you control have flying, which means just like a sliver type deck, you're now giving the ability of elves to have flying. Look at that. Land creatures you control have flying, which means any elf you have is going to have flying because this card will be in play. That's an amazing card. It's going to be an auto-include, and it's only an uncommon. It's not going to be an expensive card, but it's going to see play. A lot of elf decks are going to use it. I love it. Okay, back to our dragons here, guys. When you take a look at the dragon here, and you see what we're talking about, dragons are going to be something to deal with in EDH. Rith the Liberated Primeval. Primeval? Whatever. I'm pronouncing things horribly today. Flying and ward. Other dragons you control have ward. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls was dealt damage, create a 4/4 flying token with flying. It's in our dragon. When you look at some of the cards they've given us lately, this is just another feather in the cap of building a dragon tribal. There are so many legendary dragons to pick from. Tiamat going and letting you get 7, the all kinds of 5 dragons into play. Other dragons coming back from the graveyard with what's his face. I just showed you Rivaz here, the Claw. You got Zeranon of the Claw, which lets you search for dragon, give it haste for all of our ancient dragons from Baldur's Gate Commander Legends. I'm building a dragon tribal for my son. This card is going to go in, obviously. Mixing with all these other dragons and dragon abilities is just going to be brutal. It's going to be hilarious. I'm going to love it. You've got things like that Temple of Tiamat or whatever, which means you cast... guys, the Temple of Tiamat, along with all these cards that are not expensive, means you're going to have a good time with it. It's going to be a blast, and a lot of players aren't even realizing how fun a deck like this can be to play. So they're not really caring. It's not going to be competitive right away. But if Wizards keeps putting and forcing cards like this in, it is going to be competitive. It is going to be fun. On a side note, guys, before I click this stuff off, when you realize, back to the soldier thing, you got cards like Assemble the Legion for the red-white ones. You've got Martial Glory, and you add that in with banding effects. We are going to see crazy stuff. You got General Farios, right? Loxodon Smiter for a white-green soldier. There is just so many options available now, and I don't think people have noticed it. I think that stuff is really going to play out well going forward in the game. Now let me just click that bad boy off, click my camera back on, and I gotta say that this is going to be a great time to be around in Magic. It's going to be amazing. You can build low-end budget commander decks people have never seen before, like soldiers. You can augment decks like elves and clerics. You can bring in crazy dragon decks now that people probably couldn't build. Well, they couldn't build 5 years ago because dragons were kind of passé, and they've been brought back. And to me, no matter how expensive or inexpensive a card is, playing the game, having some fun, getting some crazy effects to blow off once in a while, and enjoying the game with friends is what it's all about sometimes. It's not just about the secondary market, the financial value. That's great, but it's still a game. And when I see these crazy cards coming out, it makes me want to build. And that I love. I love the fact it makes me want to build. I hope it does for you guys too. And some of these cards are so cheap right now on the pre-sale orders, on some of these reserve list cards nobody cares about. You can pick them up. Look at yesterday's video. Can't wait, guys. Can't wait. And then before you know it, Brothers War is upon us, adding a whole new section of cards with a whole bunch of crazy artifacts, I hope. I'm looking forward to it. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks a lot for tuning in today. Thanks for hanging out with me through this video and going through. I'm looking forward to reading the comments today. I really am. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day wherever you are in the world of Magic. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. Big shout out to all the fantastic patrons on the channel who make videos like this possible every day. These videos are brought to you by MTG Moxman and its fabulous patrons. I know, we're at the end. I'm just smiling because when I saw some of the cards and I started linking things together, I waited to make this video all week when I saw how things were connecting and not giving it away too much on the live streams or not giving it away in other videos. There's going to be some sales. Stuff is going to go a little bit crazy. I know. Maybe not right away, but it's going to happen. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Let's put Soldier in the comments section just because I think that's going to go somewhere. I think it's getting more and more likely, and I want to have some fun with it. So we're going to put Soldier down there. And I wonder what the sales will be like now for the Hot 10 of the weekend. I wonder if anything will get disrupted from the numbers I already have. But we'll see. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for being there. The foot's up. The foot's up. And that's all I got for you today. And yes, I'm feeling better. I'm still a little hacky on the cough, though, and I'm still running a fever off and on. Crazy, but I feel fantastic. All right, guys, talk to you soon.